Hi, this is rrsleigh, and today I want to get super basic and dig into the structure of the major scale, how you can change the way you think about it and the way you visualize it in your head. And this is a key of C Marine Band Deluxe harmonica, and I'm going to play the C scale right now. That's how I learned to play it years ago. And the way I learned to think about it years ago was whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step. And that just never helped me. I just, for some reason, that formula never seemed to stick in my head in a way that was useful. And then a few years ago, I was teaching at a folk college event, a local event that's held in Huntington, and there was a blues guitarist and historian and just awesome musician named Scott Ainslie. And I sat in on one of his classes, and he broke down the major scale in a way that I'd never seen before, which I'm going to pass along to you. By the way, if you play acoustic guitar and you want to learn to play like Robert Johnson, Scott Ainslie has a DVD that will show you step by step how to do that on some of his most famous tunes. It's really good stuff. All right, so here's what Scott did. Instead of going whole step, whole step, whole step, see, I can't even read. I just screwed it up. What Scott did was he went up to a whiteboard and he put C, D, E, F, and then left a space, G, A, B, C. And then he put little tick marks between the B and the C and the E and the F. And he said, the major scale, if you think of it as an 8-note scale, both sections have exactly the same structure: whole step, half step. And then there's a whole step between Act 1 and Act 2. And then the second part of the second 4 notes has exactly the same structure. So now if you listen to this, by breaking it into 2 pieces, you can hear that structure that is identical: whole step, half step. And this, for some reason, just really made it a lot easier for me to think about how the major scale works. And then the next step is taking those numbers, and count and reading it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you do that, now you have the 2 main ways that you can think about music, either with alphabet note names or with numbers that you substitute for the alphabet note names. And the cool thing about using the numbers is now you can go to any scale, any major scale, and you transpose whatever you've just done into the other scale using the numbers. You don't have to write down E, F sharp, G sharp, etc., etc., etc. It's a way to just visualize and think about music that gives you formulas that you can then use to see the same structure in different keys. And there's 2 things to remember. One is that in the alphabet note names, when you go from B to C and from E to F in the key of C, or actually in any key, if you go from B to C or E to F, it's a half step. That's the part on the piano keyboard where there's no black key in between the two white keys. B to C, E to F. Now, if you also remember the formula, between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8 are half steps. So now you have a formula: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is the structure of the major scale. And this is called using scale degrees. And using scale degrees allows you to think about music in ways that are much more difficult to think about if you're just going from one key to another and constantly having to keep track of sharps and flats. So once you know this, you can start with any scale and just go from left to right. Like for instance, let's do the key of G, all right? You go from left to right, G, A, B, C, okay? Between B and C is that half step, so that all works. Now leave a step, and then D, E, F, G. Now we've got E and F, and we know that between those alphabet note names, from E to F is a half step, and that's not going to work because that half step is in the wrong place. So we have to either make the E go down a half step or make the F go up a half step. And if you think about it, you realize that the F needs to go up a half step so that the rest of the G major scale is D, E, F sharp, G. Now you've got the half steps all in the right place. So by taking a scale, any major scale, and going from left to right with these two pieces of information that you want to notice where the B's and C's and the E's and F's are, and get them rejiggered either with a flat or a sharp to keep the pattern of whole step, half step for each of the segments of the major scale. And there's a lot more cool stuff that comes out of this when you start thinking about it and looking at how the pattern moves around in other places. Now this C, D, E, F is the first 4 notes of the C scale. It's also the last 4 notes of the F major scale. And G, A, B, C is the first 4 notes of the G major scale. So when you learn to play the C major scale, you've also learned how to play half of the F major scale and half of the G major scale. And that also gets you started on making your way around the circle of fifths. This is a device that I made that goes around the circle of fifths. We were here on the key of C, and then when I said that key of C has half of the F scale, you can see the F is right next to the C on the circle of fifths, and the G's over here. And so the G major scale has half of the D major scale. And the pattern keeps on going, and you keep adding sharps or flats to the scales to get the alphabet note names lined up with the structure of 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 to 4 is a half step. 5, 6, 7, 8. 7 to 8 is a half step. So that's the basic theory. Now let's take a look at it on paper. Now here's what you can do with a pen and a piece of paper, or a pencil and a piece of paper in your spare time to really embed these ideas. Here is the C major scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And this is the way Scott put it up on the whiteboard. So you see those little tick marks between the E and F, the 3 and the 4, the B and the C, the 7 and the 8. Okay? Now, if you want to work out another scale, first put it down in your basic alphabet note names, just plain alphabet note names. And then you look at it and you go, okay, between the B and the C here, there's a half step, and we don't want that. Between the A and the B, there's a whole step. We don't want that. So in order to put this into the formula of having the half step between the third and the fourth step of this scale, we need to make that B into a B flat. Okay, now it's all set up. Okay, we'll take another one. I'm going to take, let's make it a little bit more difficult. All right, now here we've got E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. And if we want to turn that into an E major scale, we've got to get the G to the A turned into a half step, and the D to the E turned into a half step. And we're also seeing that there's a B and a C right, get your finger in the right place, right here. And that's a half step between those alphabet note names. So we need to increase this C to a C sharp. And then once we've done that, then we'd need to increase this D to a D sharp so that we've got the pattern, whole step, and then half step. And then on this end, between E and F is a half step. So the F needs to go up a half step, E to F sharp. Now between F and G is a half step, and that doesn't follow the formula. So we need to make the G into a G sharp, and then everything fits together. Now we have an E major scale. So you can just practice this. Just pick a note, any note, and then by going left to right and noticing where the B's and C's are and the E's and the F's, you can start making them fit the pattern. And doing this is really good practice. And it's something you can do in a restaurant on the flip side of your placemat. If you're a musician, you'll get more out of doing this than you will solving crossword puzzles or Sudoku, or it's something you can do that's really productive, that will start embedding more and more of this information in your head. You'll start seeing more and more patterns, even in other keys. Of course, you can also use this device, which I sell at my store, the Hot Rod harmonicas. There'll be a link below. And what you do here with the scale degree finder is if you want to know, if you want to look up the notes of the key of E major scale, you put the E at the root note at the top, and then everything lines up. There's your G sharp for your second. Your second degree is F sharp, G sharp. So it shows you the notes of the E major scale. It also does a whole lot of other things, which I'm not going to get into. But it's another way to play around with these ideas and to start seeing relationships in other major scale notes or chord formulas or whatever. So I highly recommend getting physical with this process. Sitting down with a piece of paper, writing these things out with your own hand and a pen, singing the notes, singing the scale degrees, and just enjoy the process. But once you understand these concepts and you can sing a major scale, you can figure out anything using scale degrees because the scale degree numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are based on the major scale. So whenever you see a scale degree like flat 3, what it's telling you is that note is a half step below the note in the major scale. All scale degrees are a way of understanding music by comparing the notes to the notes of the major scale. As soon as you've if you already have that major scale in your head and you can sing it from any note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if you're not quite there with being able to sing those notes and get them on pitch, then that's your first step, is to develop your relative pitch, is what it's called, to be able to start on a particular note and then sing those notes of the major scale. And you may need to do that for a little while before it sinks in and you nail it. But once you get there, then you can start singing variations, formulas that use different notes. There, for example, the formula for the minor pentatonic scale is 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and then 8 or 1. And so you see that flat 3 and the flat 7, and now you know that flat 3 is the note a half step below the 3 in the major scale, and that flat 7 is a half step below the note on the major scale. So you start off 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, and then find the note in between. 2, 3, 2, flat 3, 3, and you may need to use a piano keyboard to nail that new note that you're getting in your head. Let's do it with C. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, flat 3, 1, flat 3, 1, flat 3. So this is how you start developing a very strong internal map of the music theory ideas that you want to be able to use. It's just like I've been told by many musicians, if you want to learn a song on your instrument, when you can sing it, when you can sing the melody, you own it, and you will be able to find the notes on your instrument. The same is true of music theory concepts. One of the things that can happen with people who just read about music theory without singing the ideas is that it becomes more and more abstract, and it's basically useless because you're not going to be able to remember the concepts or play them. You need to be able to sing them, and then you need to be able to find them on your instrument. So on this harmonica, now that is the draw 2, in second position. On this, it's a C harp, so it's a key of G in second position. And if I wanted to play that minor pentatonic scale, that flat 3, and this is what you do, is you start singing these intervals so you can sing 1 flat 3, 1 flat 3, 1 2 3 4, 1 flat 3 4 5 flat 7 8. And singing musical concepts can feel really weird, and you may not like the sound of your voice. I'm not crazy about my sort of weak falsetto when I go up into that range, but it's a super powerful. If you want to learn music theory, practical music theory, theory that you understand and can play off the top of your head when you're jamming with other people, this is the fastest route. Translate it into scale degrees, sing those scale degrees, and then find it on your instrument. And it's the same thing with chord formulas. They are also translated into scale degrees. 1 3 5 is a major triad. That's 1 3 5. And minor, 1 flat 3 5. Whoa. 1 flat 3 5. And you can go for a walk and start singing these ideas in your head. See how many of them you can nail. You know, can you sing a minor pentatonic scale? 1 flat 3 4 5 flat 7 8. I couldn't do that the first time I tried. I had to go, I'd be out walking around and I'd be going 1 2 3 1 2 flat 3 1 2 flat 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 flat 3 1 flat 3 4. You get the idea. I had to work at it until I got to the point where I'm pretty quick at being able to sing that minor pentatonic scale. And then you have it internalized. You've got a deep physical multi-dimensional map in your head, and you can find those notes so much faster by doing that. So this is why mastering the basic structure of the major scale gives you the power to start sorting out all of these other concepts. And if you skip this step of not understanding this structure and not being able to sing the major scale and then sing variations off of it, you'll constantly be struggling to understand new musical ideas. I mean, granted, you can find them on the piano, but if you find them on the piano, then use that as a way to check your singing. And the more you work with these ideas and sing them out, alternate between playing a new idea, singing it, playing it, singing it, you'll get this music theory deep in your head and your heart and your entire physical system, and you'll be able to play these ideas instantly in an improvisational situation. One more thing. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you found it useful and you know somebody who could benefit from this, tell people about it. Subscribe to my channel. Find out when the next video is coming out. My goal is to help more blues harmonica players turn pro in the way they approach their music, and that means being able to really use music theory to bring up your game and make you into a more awesome musician. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you soon.